SF Live TV. I'm your host, Christina Marie. Well, we've been doing a lot of shows on sexuality. In those shows, we would often mention female dominance. Now, when I talk to people out in the street about that, they say female dominance, it's not for me. I'm kind of shy. And other people, when I ask them about that, they would say that female dominance is kind of like bitchy women or bossy women. Well, really, it's neither of those things. A very interesting thing, and something we're going to be speaking about tonight. With us, we have Dr. Gabriele Hoff. Hello, Dr. Hoff.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show. So, first of all, I want to ask you, what is it that brings you to be an expert on this particular topic? You speak about this a lot?
Yes, I do indeed. Over many years, I have spoken to probably 2,000 people by now. And I also have seen changes over the last 20 years. This is how long I have worked with it. I have done counseling with anything from dominatrixes to people who are just a little bit curious about the topic of female dominance. I've also spoken with a lot of men about female dominance in counseling. Men who come in and are interested in it and don't know what to do with it.
Now, that's an interesting topic. Do a lot of men... they're interested in having a dominant female in their life. Most people probably wouldn't figure that, but that's something that's pretty popular?
It is very popular. It is still very taboo. It's getting less of a taboo these days, but it's still a big taboo because men are still expected to play a certain role of being dominant themselves, since male dominance has been present for the last 3,000 years or so.
Yes, they have.
Yes, but a lot of men
Definitely.
find dominant women, erotically dominant women, very interesting. There's a huge amount of websites and so on the internet about female domination. You can look it up and it's amazing.
Okay, but before you look it up, you should stick by, because first of all, we're going to be speaking about what is female dominance for this. So let's start with the primer on that.
Well, female dominance can be anything from a female superiority lifestyle, dominatrix, living with submissives, with slaves 24/7, to the other end of the spectrum, where it would be a rather traditional woman who wants to experiment a little bit for whatever reasons.
For example, a housewife that might,
Sure.
want to try something a little fun with her husband.
Right, maybe she
partner.
read something interesting and thinks, I'm a little bit bored here with having to do the same thing over and over again. And my husband, he was so nice when we started dating. He adored me. He brought me roses. And now he comes home and he puts on his slippers and he burps.
This is in front of the TV. We're not generalizing, but
right,
that
that's
idea.
This does sneak in long-term relationships if people don't pay attention. And it's usually the women that pay more attention in keeping things alive.
Now, when I say female dominance, and I spoke to some people in the street about it, basically, they would think it right away, black leather, whips, high boots, and although that's really cute, and I like that look too, that's not all of what it could be.
No.
And what are some lighter examples of, little baby steps, maybe?
I would recommend to women, if they want to experiment with female domination, to dress nicely, but it needs to be in a way they feel comfortable with. The black leather, that's a fetish look that can work very well, but it's not for everybody, as you said.
Right.
So if you get your hair done and put on a nice dress and nice shoes, and you feel comfortable and you feel sexy and you enjoy the way you feel, that's a good start for female domination.
And as far as going into more fetish, we had a show on that. You can look that up.
Yes, we
and
did.
check out. That was a good show too. Okay, so the little steps and couples. Now, do couples always know when the other one might be more passive and one's more, I don't want to say aggressive, but do they always have the same roles that they usually play? So isn't it going to get screwed up a little bit if the woman suddenly is like,
Yeah.
I'm here?
Well, that probably would not be, I wouldn't recommend that if it's a traditional marriage, let's say, and certain roles have been established. I think that it might backfire if the woman gets carried away. But it's very unlikely for a woman to do that, because it would take little baby steps to gain confidence towards that role of female domination. Some men would dream about that they come home and there's suddenly a leather-clad dominatrix in the living room, but it's a bit unlikely.
Now, you were mentioning some of the ways to start would be to dress nicely in something that you feel comfortable and sexy in.
Sexy, yes.
So would that be enough of a signal to your partner, or what does that do? How does that make you feel like a dominant female by dressing nicely? What is that connection?
Confidence and feeling secure is the stepping stone. And whatever makes a woman feel sexy and secure and confident would be required. What makes a woman feel sexy? Every woman has different tastes, but mostly looking good helps. And that is why I wouldn't recommend starting out in a sweatsuit.
No, that's not a very dominant look. No.
And also men are very visual, and if the woman is suddenly dressed really, really nice, they may go, oh wow, there's something going on. But it needs to be planned a little bit with the partner if you really want to go to female domination. And we'll talk a little bit about what is female domination.
Yes, that would
because
be good.
There's okay. Let me address that right now.
Okay.
That female domination is mostly related to sexuality. So it could be a couple playing occasionally where the woman wants to play a more dominant role. It can go all the way to a lifestyle where it's a dominant woman, she's living the lifestyle of a female superiority type lifestyle, having submissives around all the time. That's rather rare. Most people would do it occasionally or just for special occasions.
In some aspects, it's not so much bossing the person around or telling them to do things. It could be, but it can be as little as, demanding a little bit more respect, but not demanding so much as what is it that it brings out in the woman when she's more powerful.
Women have so much power, but they often don't know it. Men always pay attention to beautiful women, heterosexual men, that is. They pay attention to beautiful women, and they want to please a beautiful woman. They want to be seen. They want to be the heroes and the gentlemen. And if a woman is comfortable and confident enough to embrace that and play that role, that is the beginning of female domination. It's not to command the man around, but to subtly state what she needs and what she wants and expect to get it, and it will happen.
There's a wonderful book that was written, I don't know how long ago, but it's called Mama Gina's, and it's a wonderful book on the training manual for men, for your man. So basically how to learn about men. And one thing she does state is something that you just said, which is when you're going to Safeway or you're shopping, if you can reach something up there, but there's a gentleman right there to help you, ask him to do it. Because it helps in two ways. One, it makes you feel like you're being served in a way or treated specially, but also it gives him the opportunity to do something that men like to do, which is help or be the hero or be the savior. And even if it's just a little thing like asking for someone to help you lift something, and we all know that you can lift it yourself, but the thing is that if you let a man be a gentleman, that it empowers him as to feel what he is good at doing, and you to be able to learn to accept a door opening for you, someone holding your chair for you, and these niceties that a lot of women, modern women, have given up or just don't seem to use anymore.
And that is very true. And then also it ties right into how to keep a long-term relationship alive and fiery and interesting. If it's always the same routine, no matter how fun it was in the beginning, it does get boring after a while. So we need to be creative. And women have a lot of creativity to have her partner, whether they live together or not, open doors and carrying her suitcase and so on. That is very nice. And now that can be combined with a more erotic demeanor. But the man would need to know what's happening, and he would need to be asked if he's interested, because some men really wouldn't be interested at all, and then I wouldn't recommend it.
Which is a really good question. Now, how do you ask your partner if they'd be interested. You're dressed up in the beautiful outfit, you're feeling really great. How do you start that conversation with him or her?
Well, it depends on what kind of a communication we have in the relationship already. Some couples talk a lot and there are no big mysteries. Others are rather non-communicative. Depending on how well the woman knows the man, if he has expressed an interest in it, maybe he had a magazine or he talks about a website of, would you be interested? Honey, you know, I've seen this movie. There was a woman and she was all dominant, and would you be interested in that? Mm-hmm. If he puts out some pieces already, then you can be assured he is interested, and that could even be fun to surprise him one day. But if the topic of conversation hasn't come up yet, it needs to come up beforehand. Otherwise, it could backfire.
And so now we've made the step into talking about it, and you're dressed really beautifully, and you feel confident. You want to try. What is the next step? And just, you know, anything that we can talk about on this time of day, but something that you might want to take that might be a little erotic and fun to take small steps towards female domination.